And welcome to the LIDNUG user group, our second June 2011 event that we have running. Today we're going to have Lohith Nagaraj do Open Data for Open Web. I'm going to hand over to Lohith in a minute. Just going to do a bit of housekeeping. First off, a big thank you to all our sponsors, Orgtrip and Telerik and ProSharp for their continued support. And upcoming event in June, some notices we have had quite a few events already, but June 2011 has been very busy for us. So on the 16th of June we have a Curing and Testing Blues with Visual Studio and TFS 2010 by Angela Dugan. And of course, Scott Guthrie's Unplugged Q&A session. Our 9th session is on the 23rd of June. Same how I've done the same I did last time. It's not the 23rd of May, it's the 23rd of June. And in July, I would advise everybody to keep an eye on hsp.lidnug events.eventbrite.com. Just keep an eye on all our announcements. The LIDNUG team and LIDNUG details as usual. There's our website, lidnug.org, and our LinkedIn group address, our calendars, again our Eventbrite listings, Twitter, Facebook. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at info@lidnug.org. And the team as usual, Inbar Gasset, me, Zane, Peter Shaw, Isaac, Abraham, Ethels. And again, if you see us around, feel free to give us a message. And I'm going to hand over to Lohith. Lohith, thank you very much for coming on board and presenting to our members.
It's my pleasure, Brian.
I'm going to hand over to you. Yes, I can hear you fine enough.
Okay.
Switching over to your slide deck now. And you can take it from here.
Okay, thank you. So let me first share my desktop. Okay, welcome everybody to this. This is my first ever global presentation that I'm doing. So I would need all the support from you guys if I do any mistakes or anything. So first of all, thank you very much to Brian and his team for allowing me to come on this board and then present to all of you. So today I'm going to be speaking about the Open Data Protocol. Basically, I just kept it as open data for the open web. So it's kind of an introduction to the Open Data Protocol itself. So to start the presentation, my name is Lohith. I don't want to take much time in kind of getting in details about myself. Here's my online identity. It's about.me/Karshippa. I do tweet with the same handle Karshippa. So Twitter is the quickest way to reach me. If you go to about.me/Karshippa, you'll find everything, my blog, my Facebook, everything. So having said enough of me, let's move on. So this is the kind of agenda that I had in mind. Basically, I wanted to talk about what is Open Data Protocol or Open Data. Why should you as a user or a developer or a consumer or a producer should care about that? And lastly, how you go about using it. I'm going to start with walk through different examples, cover different scenarios. Maybe if somebody has attended Mix 2010, there was a session from Pablo Castro. Pablo Castro is the lead PM on the data team, which is responsible for open data, the use cases for the open data and all those stuff. So he did a session called as There's a Feed for that. So this whole presentation is kind of influenced by the same talk, and then most of that I'm trying to rerun here because mostly people have been starting to talk about more about the open data from the technology perspective, but there is one session where Pablo tries to get out as to why Microsoft came out with something known as Open Data Protocol and why it was named as a protocol Open Data, and then the WCF Data Services, as the technical name goes, for the library or the producing library or the consuming library. So I'm going to just try to rerun the same thing. So this is the agenda for us today. What is OData? Why should you care about it? How would we use about that? Basically, this goes back to MIX 2007. MIX, as you all know, is one of the premier events that happens in Las Vegas every year from Microsoft, and people all over the world, they just come and then it's all technology for 2 to 3 days. So way back in 2007, the Microsoft first talked about the open data, or at that point of time, I think it was not coined or named as open data, rather it was known as the Project Astoria. So it was codenamed as Project Astoria. So that's the first time Microsoft came out with something known as, hey, here's a protocol that we are trying to build based on exclusively for the data exchange, kind of a web service which does the data exchange. So from that time onwards, the thinking evolved, and then today, 4 years down the line, I think pretty much they have gone far ahead in terms of the use case, the scenarios, and they have brought this particular Project Astoria to a mainstream, and then they have done so many stuff. Basically, when they started working towards the Project Astoria, the main thing they started looking to was the data and the web applications. How are these two communicating with, or how is a web application trying to use the data, all those stuff. Traditionally, if you see here, I have a block which says, in the yesteryears, the web page used to be kind of a presentation plus a behavior plus the data-oriented stuff. Basically, you had a page wherein you had the presentation, you had the server-side code, you had the data being looped through, and then a table has been shown or a behavior. So everything was bundled within one page. But slowly, as the new technologies started emerging, for example, the Ajax, wherein only a portion of the page is kind of getting refreshed, meaning only that portion of data is going, and then you're getting a chunk of data, and then you repaint the UI. Then you have the rich internet applications where you have, only the data being exchanged between the client and the server, whereas the presentation is completely residing in the client side. Then, yes, we do have the mashups, the 2.2 era and all those stuff, wherein the data resides somewhere else, but the presentation and behavior can be on it can be in your web page, but the data is coming exclusively from a third party or somewhere else, and that data may be just pure data. It doesn't have anything other than what the user needs. So these were the kind of scenarios that Microsoft team has been going through, and then looking into, okay, since the way the data and the web applications have evolved in the way they use the data, I think they started looking into kind of requirement for a web data services. That's where the whole stuff started way back in 2007. The terminology here being web data services. Basically, when they started looking into this particular stuff about a data service or a web data service, they were thinking about an interface which is appropriate for exposing the data, which provides a rich experience over the data set. Basically, you have a data set which you consume. Can we figure out an appropriate interface which does only the data exchange and then also provides a rich experience over the data set that it's trying to expose? So these were the 4 tenets, or as I call, or these were the 4 pillars that they basically took into their consideration when they started coming out with this, the Project Astoria, when it started growing. They wanted to keep it everything HTTP, meaning they didn't want to reinvent any wheel. They wanted to go with whatever it's already available over the web. Basically, HTTP, as we all know, it's usually it's a transport protocol, but it's much more than that. It's an infrastructure within itself. So Moreover, it's a web friendly. Everybody who knows how to, every client in the internet era knows how to communicate with over the HTTP. So they didn't want to reinvent the wheel. Keep it simple, keep it friendly. Just use the plain HTTP, and they also thought about uniform patterns, meaning everybody should understand. Basically, what happens is when you have the data sharing that becomes large enough, meaning you have multiple clients, you have multiple servers which are trying to there are multiple servers, or let's say call it as producers who are trying to go and then expose data, and then there are multiple clients or consumers who are trying to consume the data. So when you get this particular ecology growing, you tend to start assuming, okay, how is that data being exposed or anything. But if we have a uniform pattern wherein everybody who wants to consume knows exactly as to how the data has been pushed out there, and they know exactly how the data structure is and everything. So that was one of the other key factors that were accounted for, the uniform pattern. We're going to look into what this uniform pattern is all about. Basically, it's nothing but the data is always exchanged as maybe in a uniform URL pattern. Everybody knows about this pattern. Everybody knows about the methods that act upon this pattern. There's no guesswork there. Thirdly, focus on the data, not on the formats. For example, if you take a soap, you have the soap envelope, the soap body, everything. So basically, I don't want to be tied out with the formats. Rather, I want to be focusing on my data. The format itself depends on the consumer. So it's not on the producer saying like, send me this data as a JSON or send me this data as an XML. Rather, it's the client who's going to maybe a header-based content disposition or anything, the content negotiation. So it's going to be there, but you're going to be accessing the same URL or same data. But yes, the content negotiation is what drives the format in which the data is getting exchanged between the people, between the systems. So the fourth one is the high level abstraction. Basically, this protocol, when we put into place, it should be very high level enough to abstract the store details from it, maybe creeping through the interface details to the outside world. People can guess around, okay, what's the repository or what's the backend, all those stuff. Which by keeping it very high level and abstracting the store, this gives us a mechanism to go out and then make any data available as an open data. Don't bother about the underlying the store. Rather, you just expose the data. The consumers, they don't have to bother about, okay, where is this coming from. Rather, okay, I can communicate over HTTP. I can communicate using a uniform pattern, and the data I want is coming in the format I want. So these were the 4 tenets basically they had in mind when they started out with the project Astoria, and then slowly when it gathered momentum. But this was the 4 pillars they kept in mind, and as they started putting it to the production. So basically, if I have to, so this is where the story takes an interesting turn in saying, like, since the project Astoria was becoming successful, they thought, okay, from the marketing perspective, I think the project Astoria was not a cool name for them, so they renamed it as ADO.NET Data Services, but rather they figured out like there's no ADO.NET in there, so I think that was renamed again to the technical term was known as WCF Data Services. So that's the library or the API perspective that we have in the .NET. So that went mainstream into the .NET framework itself, but the underlying protocol, it got its own name, and then Microsoft decided to name it as Open Data Protocol. So basically, the WCF Data Services, which the .NET library is the byproduct for developing the Open Data Protocol related services or consuming that. The protocol on which all this works got its own name, and it's named as Open Data Protocol. And it was released and under the open source specific open promise, an open source promise. So So put open data in one slide. These are 3 bullets I can just come out with. Basically, open data is nothing but a uniform way of representing a structured data. So it's nothing but atom or a JSON format. So basically, atom or the atom XML is kind of a very well structured or very well is a standard for many of the data. The blogs, many of the blogs, they expose their data as RSS feeds, and those RSS feeds are based on atom format, and then any client out there in the world is capable of enough of understanding this atom format, and then the clients can go and then just represent those based on this atom format. So another thing about open data is the uniform URL convention. Everything in open data is hyperlink driven. Since it's HTTP, when we say hyperlink, you can navigate to any level. It's basically following links, and then every piece of data within the open data is a kind of a hyperlink, and then every when we say uniform URL conventions, navigation has a uniform URL kind of convention there, saying like, okay, if you want to go from the resource A to resource B or resource A, and then it has a tail, and then there's uniformity being given out there. The filtering, the sorting, the paging, everything is possible just with the URL, and there are conventions for all of these. And then the open data protocol specification lists all this stuff in their specs. Uniform operations, there's no, basically each and every resource which is exposed as open data is addressable, so that's why we say addressability. And there are only 4 methods that we can, they always mean the same. For example, for the get, whenever we want to read something, it's get. There's nothing other than get. We don't have a get user by name or get user by ID or nothing. So it's basically you point to your URL and you issue a get. Get request, you'll be always getting the same data. So similarly, post is for creating, put is for updating, delete is for delete. So these 4 uniform operations always mean the same, be it any client, be it any platform. So since HTTP governs these verbs, they're always going to be the same. So open data in one slide is all about uniform way of representing your structured data, uniform URL conventions, uniform operations, so get, post, put, delete. Now, so quickly, I want to just get onto the demo here. Basically, what I'm going to start out is, I'm going to start with basically a very famous commercial data set available to us on the net. It's Netflix is one of the everybody's familiar with Netflix, which is the movie rental company in the US. So what they did was they came out and then they released all the catalog as an OData. For example, we are now currently at the root of the catalog. When I say odata.netflix.com/catalog, I'm going to be given the root for this particular catalog, and then here, if you see, we do have namespaces like XML namespace :atom. So there's nothing specific to Microsoft here. Rather, it's the standard atom namespace that's being governed here. So anybody who understands this atom standards, they'll be able to parse this. And what's this basically saying is, we have a collection of genres, a collection of titles, collection of audio formats, title awards, people, screen formats, languages, and all this stuff. So now I talked about addressability. So let's say I want to go and then look into how the titles collection is looks like. So basically, all you're going to do is catalog/titles. So that will pretty much take me to the titles collection and then start giving me all the data about this particular title. I think there are around 30,000 titles there. So it's going to take some time to come back. So rather, what I will do is I'm going to introduce now another concept that I talked about, filtering or paging. So I'm going to just say, give me the top 5 titles. So if you see here, what you're seeing is a traditional RSS feed that the browsers are capable of, kind of identifying, and then this is the standard. This is kind of a standard IE behavior, wherein if there is any RSS feed on the screen, it kind of goes ahead and then does its own style sheet magic, and then tries to show you how it looks like. So rather, if I just do a view source on here, you'll see that there's nothing other than XML, which talks about like feed, namespace is again atom, and then you have the traditional entry, all those stuff. So in the background, it's actually an XML, but it's an XML in the format of an atom RSS atom specification, so that all the major browsers, they are capable of understanding that, and then and they will be able to pass it and then give their own style sheet magic here. Rather, if I go and then turn off my feed reading, so my feed reading was on, so I'm going to turn it off. And then if I hit back again, yeah, if you see here, I just turned off my feed reading capability on my IE. So if you see, I just get a normal feed. So although we were browsing a commercial data, but the structure in which the data comes back is actually an atom feed. How do I say it's an atom feed? It's because there are XML namespaces here which talks about w3org/2005/atom and the traditional entries being coming here. So if you see, I said give me the top 5 movies. So if you see here, I have 5 entries here. Each entry, if you kind of drill down into each entry, you'll see that there is an ID. So this is a unique ID for this particular entry, which is actually a title, a movie title, but there is a title, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then there is a summary, and there are a bunch of links which tell you how to get to the next level. For example, here is one link where it's saying title disk, href is titles, then the ID /disk. So it's pretty obvious to anybody who sees this attribute called href that yes, I can follow or navigate to that particular link. So if just to prove the point, just let me take this particular. I'm going to now. So if you see here, I'm now going to a title which has an ID of 13ALY, and then I'm accessing one of the sub entry and call this disk. Okay, I think I have some problem. Let me go back to the titles and then I'll just quickly. One more thing to notice here is the data, actual data. For example, the movie name. The movie has a name, has a short name, has a synopsis, has an average rating, has a release year. Everything is actually bundled as an EDM model, entity data model within the this particular node here, and this is the actual data that we are interested in. And so if you see here, now what I can do is I can do all sort of filtering here. I will just keep the top 5, but I will say get me, so $filter is equal to release year equal to 2011. Yeah, if you see here, now I just got back the top 5 movies from the release year 2011. That means any movie that is released in the year 2011, it's now got me the top 5. So here's the Tree of Life. Take Me Home Tonight. hoodwink who, so this is kind of filtering. So it's just not related to the filtering. I can say like, skip is equal to 10. I can do all sort of paging, all this filtering, paging, everything is supported. If you go to OData.org, they have a better specs defined out here. Now, so this was all from the browser perspective. Now everybody knows about Fiddler. So now here I'm just going to take and then prove a point about the data exchange, the content disposition, the content negotiation that happens between the browser and the server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a request here just to keep the titles not bombarding my network. So what I will do is I'll just say top 5. Now, if you see here, all I'm just trying to say here is, I want to do a GET request. It's odatanetflix.com/catalog/titles top 5. So if I execute this now, so I got back the response. If I see the response, just have a look at the headers. So if you look at the headers, the content type that came back was actually an Atom XML. So if I look at the raw, it just came back as the normal the feed that we just saw in the browser. So that's because I never sent any content types what I wanted. So it kind of defaulted the producer at the producer level. The server just kind of got defaulted to application/Atom XML. By default, we talked about JSON also. So all you need to do is now I'm going to put an accept header, and I'm going to say I want a JSON format for my data. So it's the same URL. I'm not going to change anything. Catalog/titles top 5. When I execute this now, and if I kind of just look at the JSON, so the JSON came back as the normal the result set, and then you have everything. So let's look at the header now. So if you look at the header, it says the content type is application/JSON. So the consumer can go ahead and say, hey, you know what, I want the data format in JSON. So now the power is at the consumer level. It's no more different methods over the server where you can say get me by JSON or get me by XML or parts and all this stuff. So if you look at the raw, so here's how it came back, the content type, application, JSON, and then here is the JSON data that we have. So basically, the open data allows, by default, an Atom XML or the JSON format to be kind of, exchanged. So what we just saw was 2 different clients. Our IE is one client, one type of client, and then Fiddler, which does pure HTTP communication. So you have 2 different clients who understand how to talk HTTP, how to understand the content negotiation, everything. So so 2 different clients can get 2 different types of data. If you see here, so even here, if let's say you have through the IE, if you wanted to get back a JSON data, what you need to do is, all the services support what is known as the dollar format is equal to JSON. This is not they don't promote this. We should never be putting dollar format. But yes, that flexibility is there within the services that if due to some reason you are not able to do a content negotiation, all you can do is you can say format is equal to JSON, and if you see here. I'm getting the JSON data being. So if you see here, I'm getting the JSON data, and then I have to save that and then open it, and then I'll be able to see the JSON data. So basically, I wanted to prove this point about it supports Atom XML plus the JSON. So now this was just a brief about the whatever uniform way of representing the structured data, the uniform URL convention like the navigation. I talked about the link for everything. The link is being there, the filtering, the sorting, the paging, the get. I'll be showing the post and put maybe a little later, because I do have an example where I have a self-hosted OData, and then I use a library to just put and post and then delete, and then I'll be able to showcase that. So we just saw the get particular getting a data here, get verb. So now this is all about maybe at the client consumer level, wherein you have a client, it consumes the data. Now what about the experiences for the developers? Basically, we have a lot of developers now. I mean, basically the developers, how do they feel about this particular open data protocol? How is it completely different from whatever we have been doing with maybe the web services or anything? So there are certain the way the libraries have been built up, or the ecology around the open data protocol has been built up, is like there are a variety of libraries available for different platforms. We have it for Silverlight, we have it for Windows Phone 7. Starting from just a simple jQuery. The jQuery supports the JSON data exchange. So I'm going to show you now about how a developer should go about by dealing with the open data protocol. How simply he can switch between development environments. For example, you could be doing one day a JSON-based, jQuery-based JSON data exchange, and suddenly if you want to switch over to Windows Phone 7, I'm going to just go over that for now. So I have a simple jQuery demo here. So if you see here, this is just a plain HTML, and I'm trying to go to the Netflix catalog, and then trying to get the titles, the top 10 titles, unsorted, and then I'm just showing the title, the movie title name, and then the year. So if I just have to show the code for this, as usual, I'm just using the ASP.AJAX, the CDN for the jQuery 1.5.1, the minified version, and then I have a list box here which says UL ID list. So by default, I just kept it as a loading. Then when the DOM is ready, all I do is, here is the JSON callback that I have JSON URL, the URL for the Netflix, and then I use get JSON to just get the data. If you see here, it's the same URL that we use in the IE browser. All I'm saying is catalog/titles, give me the top 10 movie, and I'm saying $format is equal to JSON because there's no headers that can be passed here. So there are ways to pass even the headers within the JSON. I just wanted to keep it simple here, and then I'm doing a callback is equal to question mark. This is the JSON P. If you are ever doing a cross-domain request, you would need to provide the callback so that the JSON P kicks in here. So all I did was I said get JSON. Here's the URL, and then when the data comes back, here's the callback that I want you to execute. So in the titles callback, I'm getting the results. I'm looping through each item in that result, and all I'm doing is I'm building item.name and then item.release year. If I just go back a second for the Netflix, so if you see here, each movie has a name column, each movie has a release year column. So all I'm doing is I'm just tapping into those columns and saying, hey, you know what, I want you to show me the item.name or item.release year. So if I go back to the web page and then I do this, see it's loading. I don't know if you are able to visualize this, but it's very fast because I've said only 10. So it first goes and then gets the data, loops through each JSON data, and then outputs this particular thing. Just to quickly put something else, what we can do is I can just put an image here, and I can say image src is equal to item, and if you see here, each title has something known as a box art. This is actually the cover image that comes up on the disk maybe. So they have 3 different URLs: small URL, medium URL, and large URL. I'm going to tap into medium URL. So I'll say like box art dot medium URL. Let's see how this works out. So if you see here, I just gave medium URL, so it's just bringing back the big. Let's quickly make it a small URL. Yeah. So if you see here, all these particular movies, they have the box art, small URL, and then here's the title, item name, and then the year, the release year. So from a developer perspective, let's say if he wants to quickly change this to, I want to go and then maybe look at my catalog, and then let's say I want to quickly show all the genres that are available. So if I go and then just say genres, so you do see that there are the genre names, all this stuff. So let's quickly try to change this. I mean, use this particular stuff. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to change my URL, and instead of all this stuff, I'm just going to say item dot. I think it was name, the column. Yeah, so it's item dot name. So if you see here, with just a couple of line changes, I'm able to go and then get all the genres that are available there in the Netflix catalog, and then try to, quickly show it on the screen. So this is one of the developer experience. If there is somebody who's going to be doing a jQuery-based, the data exchange here. So it's fairly simple because jQuery supports this get JSON. You'll be able to do that. Now let's quickly switch over to one of the, happening things here, the Windows Phone. So all I've done here is I have a Windows Phone application here. All it does is it again goes back to the Netflix and then tries to grab, I believe, top 10. Yeah, I'm just trying to say, like, from title, in the titles where the rating is parental guidance, PG, the release order by release year, and then take the top 10, take the 10 movies. So basically, here what we do is we kind of go and do a service reference to this particular catalog, and then the Visual Studio has the capability to kind of do the service reference. It knows about the OData, so even the Visual Studio has been made OData aware, so it's going to go and then kind of, if you see here, the service reference, I have named it as Netflix Catalog API. So this is the file that I get back, kind of a local proxy. So the collections basically is a data service collection. All I'm saying is I need a collection of title. So title is the object that you saw in the Netflix catalog. So here I just build my query here. This is a famous link, I mean the common link query that we all do, we all are familiar with. So if I put a breakpoint here and then run this application, so I have the emulator coming up. So I have the breakpoint. So when the application is getting loaded, if you see here, it just hit on this breakpoint where the collection is just about to be loaded. What I want to show here is I just wrote a link where I just said, from the titles collection, I want the title where rating is PG, and then sort it by, order it by release year descending, and then select the title but take only 10. So this is a link. So anybody who's on the C# side going to understand this particular link query. But under the hood, what's happening is have a close look at the this particular URL that being formed. Basically, the library that is available for Windows Phone 7, or the .NET consumer library, they all have this link to URI built in, so that when you do a link under the hood, it knows that this is a OData based service, and then it needs to do a link to URI. And then if you see here, it's going and then saying odata.netflix.com/catalog/titles, and then automatically it adds like filter is equal to rating equal to PG, order by release year descending, and then select top is equal to 10. So this is the link query being transformed into the URL, the uniform URL. So now when I run this, my emulator is going to be blank for a while, and then if you see now, on the Windows Phone, with just a minimal I just wrote this particular link query and then the collection load and then the XAML. All I have is a data template for a list box where I have said row number 1 is the text for the movie title name. Then row number 2 is the box art small URL that we saw. So if you see here, I'm just getting the top 10 movies from from the titles catalog. So, but here the experience here is that very minimal. If you have to switch from jQuery to here, not much of a difference at all. Here, whoever is the C# guy, he knows the link, and then he can just do his normal link based stuff, in this particular thing. And another thing I want to showcase here is I'm not sure if everybody's known about the link pad. Link pad is a great application wherein you can write link queries against your data sources. So even this link pad, which is a community-driven and small application, is aware of the OData. If you see here, I have already added my connections. For example, when I say add connection, just notice here the second one, it has WCF data services. So the link pad is already built in to know about the WCF data services. So now I already added the Netflix catalog. If you see here, the whole of Netflix catalog, whatever we saw as in the IE, we go back to the catalog. If you see here, you have all the collections coming up. Just take a look at here how the tree structure has been found based on this metadata that was that was provided by the OData. So even they are to the extent of each collection, what particular column they have, everything has been done here. So now the same query that we saw there, I can just write it here in the link pad, and then the link pad will be able to kind of get the same data for us. Let me pick this up. So I'm just trying to put the same, from title in service, just titles here, where title dot rating and all the stuff. So if I execute this, you see here, the link pad has its own inbuilt mechanism to showcase the data. So it brought back the 10 rows here with the same data. And then what's interesting is, look at the SQL here. I mean, basically it's trying to tell us what's the underhood query that went out. So it's the same query, catalog/titles, filter rating equals PG, order by easier, descending, and top is equal to 10. So basically the developer experience is going to be pretty much the same. It doesn't matter if you're coding in one particular platform or one particular technology, but for the OData, it's all about uniformity. The navigation, the URL, the filtering, the paging, all this stuff. It's going to be uniform. It doesn't change. As I said, this is again a GET request that went out. So GET means the same in any format. So coming back to my slide, so this was the developer experience for the Open Data Protocol. So that's the demo we just saw. Basically, when it comes to data sharing at large, meaning you have many consumers going out and then trying to grab that particular data, and then so the data is exposed as open data, and then there are many people who starts to consume. So basically, these are the people who have already jumped onto the open data bandwagon, and then there is a government data being exposed as Open Data Protocol. So that's the Open Government Data Initiative that has been started. Not only that, there is scientific data that has been made open data. So that's the OSDI, Open Scientific Data Initiative. And also the social data. Nerd Dinner is a classic example that Scott Hanselman has built, and then all the Nerd Dinners that are available within the Nerd Dinner site is available as a social data, as an open data. I'll show you that. And also the commercial public data. For example, we just saw the Netflix, and then the whole of Netflix catalog is available as a public data, and then any client can go and then kind of build their own mashups. Even I did build one just by using just HTML and then a library called Data.js, tapping into the Netflix OData, and then I built my own movie browser. And also, earlier it was codenamed as Dallas. I think it's renamed as Azure Data Market now. So the premium data, just because it's open data and then just because it's available for public, doesn't mean that everybody needs to be making it as a public data. You can go and then say like, okay, the particular data which is in the open data format is premium. So you can start charging per transaction or per piece of data, all those stuff. So the Azure Data Market provides a mechanism in which you can just go upload your data to the market and then say, you know what, I want to put a monetary cap onto this particular set collection, and then people should be paying you by transaction or whatever. So it provides you all those flexibilities. So just to give you an example of OGDI, there is a city of Edmonton. So what this Edmonton is basically a city of Edmonton, a small city in I think in Canada. They just put all their data onto the open data catalog, and then if you see here, this is the catalog, and these are the sets available. They have public libraries, the schools, the community league centers, transit. Even the transit data is open data now, and these sets are really, you can just go here and then you can just browse. So now the government data is also getting onto the open data protocol, ecology, and then the data have been made public made available to everybody. So there are certain challenges, although we have said about kind of open data, the protocol being open, anybody can access the data and all those stuff. But one of the key challenges that many face is the consistency and then the up-to-date. For example, when we take the case of OGDI, the government data, it's not just a case about just you upload once and then dump it and then you kind of that's it, done, and that's the data. No, but the people need to consistently go and then make sure that the data is live and then it's up to date, and then the people, the consumers are getting the up to the point kind of a data for consuming. So that's one of the key challenges. So one of the ways this is getting solved is through Azure Data Market, wherein there are certain libraries, there are certain all the facilities provided to just make yourself just go take your data set and then just upload it. Another issue or the challenge that when it comes to open data protocol or open data itself is scaling up to large data sets. The data sets, they tend to get, they start growing in terms of the volume, in terms of the amount of consumption, all those stuff. So basically, the scaling of your large data sets becomes a challenge for you. One of the answers or one of the solutions that people have started to find is hosting it on the cloud and then partitioning your data on the cloud itself. The cloud provides you the reliability and the uptime, so you can and also it provides you quickly. It provides a mechanism to kind of either increase your virtual your roles, the VM roles, or increase or decrease it based on your peak, the load, and all those stuff. So you want to you want to take the scaling of your data sets, try hosting it on the cloud, and then use partitioning. So that's one of the solutions for this challenge. Basically, you have to maximize your reach of your open data and then focus on the investment. Meaning, I want to invest once, but I want to reach out to many people so that kind of my return of investment is going to be there. So one of the ways the ecology has been growing is through the sharing of the libraries, the browsers, the applications. at this point of time, when I say this, there are nearly, whichever platform you say, you have libraries for that. For example, .NET has its own library for, just now Microsoft released what is known as a Data.js, a JavaScript library, which makes it super easy to communicate with the open data protocols. You have libraries for PHP, Objective-C, you have for Java, you name it, it's there. And then not only that, there are certain data browsers, for example, Excel, which has a Power Pivot capability. The Power Pivot is OData aware, meaning it can consume an OData feed, and then it can download the data and then visualize, and you can visualize that particular data right on your desktops. And applications, people start mashing up applications using any of these libraries, and then start building applications to just showcase how the OData can be read or consumed or all those stuff. We talked about Azure Data Market. So just because the data is kind of open in nature, or it's available for public consumption, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be making monetary benefits out of that. So you can monetize your valuable data. So how the answer is through the Azure Data Market. You can always go and then kind of sign up for Azure Data Market, and you can actually tell whether a particular data set is kind of available for free of charge, or is it available, or somebody has to pay for that subscription. It's a subscription based for the consumers. So Azure Data Market does provide you with that. And then advertising the data availability itself. Today, many of the browsers, they have the capability to detect if a particular site has a RSS valid feed or not, and then especially in IE, the RSS feed icon just blinks up saying like, I found a feed within this particular site, the web page that you're seeing. So similarly, this talks about advertising the data availability. For this, the example I can show is the famous social site Nerd Dinner. What Scott Hanselman did here was, if you see here, there is the traditional RSS icon here, the second icon here, but look at the first one here. So this is the OData feed. So if I click on this, you're going to see, so this is the OData feed on the Nerd Dinner itself. I can go and say, I want to see all the dinners. So I'll get all the dinners here. Now, if we go back to the home page here and look at the source of this particular page, just notice line number 26 and 27. So here it says link. The relationship is odata.service. The title is nerddinner.com's OData service. So href is services/odata.svc. So the more and more the OData ecology tries to grow, maybe the browsers also will start getting this new icon, which is about OData, meaning if there is any site which has this particular link relationship put into their site, and then the browsers will be able to sniff that particular thing, and then when you click, they know where exactly to go. And if you look at the second link, it says, this is the service, but here is a feed, and the feed is all about dinners. So it says relationship is odata.feed, and then the href is services odata svc/dinner. So this is advertising basically about the service availability itself. I think slowly the browsers will start kind of sniffing the OData services available, and then they will be able to kind of provide that particular blinking of the OData button will just kind of blink out and then say, hey, this site has a feed for OData. And here the producers, way back in 2007, I think the only OData services available were that of the Microsoft. But today, at this point of time, when I say this, here are the servers which are capable of, kind of producing an OData. WCF Data Services is the server-side technology from the .NET stack itself. SharePoint 2010 is completely each and every site that the SharePoint has, or each and every data the SharePoint has, is all OData services. You can just use any client, HTTP client that understands HTTP communication, and then you can directly hook onto these OData services. SQL Server Reporting Service 2008 R2. it's the reports themselves are OData, meaning any OData aware client can just go and then consume this particular report. Of course, SQL Azure, it's OData aware, and this is another interesting thing. IBM WebSphere, which is not a Microsoft stack, has already implemented OData on their WebSphere stack, WCF Ria services. The live services, when we come and talk about that, Netflix, we just saw, Mix 2010, Mix 11, Nerd Dinner, Vancouver as a van guide, the OGDI, the OSDI, the Dallas, City of Edmonton. So these are the kind of, the producer ecology that we have currently for the open data. On the consumer side, as I talked about, the Excel Power Pivot, it has the capability to kind of go and then understand OData. It's OData aware. It will be able to read, parse, and then show you the data. LinkPad, I just show the example like how it's easy to just go kind of point to a OData service and then just write the normal link queries, and then it will convert link to URI and then show you that. Coming to the client libraries, we have bunch of libraries available for .NET, for Silverlight, for Windows Phone, JavaScript, Java, Objective-C, PHP. Major key takeaways here is like, share your data with open data. Basically, if you have any mechanism, if you have a scenario wherein you're trying to kind of expose your data and there's a third party which is trying to consume your stuff, I think OData should be the way to just go and then, allow make use of all the flexibilities available, the HTTP standards, the the uniformity in terms of the structure, the URL, the conventions, and all the stuff. Then teach data consumers about OData. For example, data consumers like Excel, any others, if they are already consuming data from, let's say, third party or anything, they should be thought about OData so that the reach of your service is widened. And then, any consumers out there will be able to make use of the OData or the open data. To get started, odata.org is the place to go and then try to look out for, all the specs, the SDKs, the examples, the you name it, it's there. So odata.org if you are thinking of starting on the OData itself. Basically, that's all I had for my kind of presentation for on the open data. I just wanted to take maybe a level 100 kind of a scenario wherein I just wanted to bring in where it all started and then how it helps you to use this in maybe in your real life scenarios and then go about by producing it or consuming it. So any questions or any questions that I can answer, I'll take it now.
Doesn't seem to be any questions coming in, but I do have one, Lohith. OData is of course based on the AtomPub feed.
Yeah.
Would you say that it's advisable using OData for line of business applications, or do you see OData being more utilized or for public available data, either subscription-based as you mentioned, or free-to-consume data?
Yeah, here's how I look at Open Data Protocol, the opportunity that I see. Let's take a scenario, practical scenario, wherein I cannot name too much things here, but yes, I'm working on a kind of a product which is an enterprise level product, and then we do have third party coming in and then consuming. But believe it or not, it's a 2-year-old architecture, so the only way we are relying is we have .NET WCF services on our producing side, and then the consumers are all the Java side. They're consuming it to the IBM WebSphere, but the major difficulty we are facing is the kind of data exchange that is going on. It's all SOAP. You need to serialize it on this way and that way, and then maybe the way the WSDL is built in the .NET stack is not the way what it understands on the Java side. And then there's a lot of we go back on mappings, all the stuff. But just imagine now if I had done if I had exposed my data on the producer level as an open data, it may not be the full set. The full set is mine is a RIA based application. application, I have a rich front end, which is a WPF, and then it communicates over the wire, using NetTCP or HTTP to my WCF. But just for these guys who wants to consume certain data sets, I could have written my own OData service, exposed it, and then for these guys, it's all HTTP, and then it's either Atom XML or a JSON. So everybody nowadays have the JSON capability for passing the data on their end. So that would have been super easy for us, rather than to spend timing understanding. Okay, I'm sending this particular set, but which property is not getting kind of serialized correctly on the other side, going through all those stuff. So that's how I see it. It's more about, let's say you have a scenario to expose your data to a third party, kind of guys. The best and easiest way at this point of time available is the open data. And another aspect to this is, yes, when it comes to government data, I think there's something like the data is public, should be public, and made public. If it is a public data regarding, like, if you see City of Edmonton, they have everything starting from the bus timings to the libraries available. So for a society, maybe the number of libraries and all those stuff are the public data. So it makes more sense for government to come out and then embrace open data and then start exposing, the data over open data protocol. I know for sure I'm working with Nick, Garukusha, so he's a open source lead strategist in the Microsoft Canada region. So we are trying to build something with, Vancouver City has its council expenses being exposed as open data. So we're trying to see if we can build a open data plus jQuery related kind of, mashup. So that's where it makes more sense for you to go and then expose it. When you said LOB, if you have a front end and then you have your own server side, it doesn't make much sense to create an open data and then kind of expose it. But within the LOB, if you have a desktop-based application and then and also you're trying to support other form factors, maybe, for example, I want to have a Windows Phone 7 and then I should be able to hook onto this particular LOB app, yes, put a OData service in place and then let the Windows Phone 7 has the capability, as you saw just now, to hook onto the OData and then just give you the data. It will be able to do all your get, put, post, delete right from your Windows Phone. Because the form factor is very small and then because it's a small device, you cannot have the metadata coming in like a SOAP metadata, the envelopes and all the stuff. So it's going to be heavy. But this is a pure HTTP communication. There's not much of a metadata coming through other than the OData sending its the column, the EDM that you saw. So that's how I see it.
Excellent. Thanks for that answer. That was quite a good answer, actually. There's another question coming here. Is there any encryption for security?
Yeah, I just, when I started, this is a typical questions that everybody used to ask me, like, how do I secure this? So I did wrote a blog post on this. Basically, the data team at ADO.NET data team at Microsoft has an excellent 10 series post on how can you secure your OData. But to give you an answer in a nutshell, the OData, when you host it, it's going to be behind your IaaS or some server. So your first level of authentication can be at the the server, and then you just put in a maybe a Forms authentication or a Windows authentication, and then if the user is not authenticated by the IaaS, he'll not be able to reach your service. That's one way to do it. Another ways to do it is you want to just keep it open, but maybe certain operations you want to kind of go ahead and then monitor it, saying like, okay, this can be, let's say I have a collection 1 and collection 2, but collection is one is a kind of a super public, but collection 2, I'm going to allow it only for some, authenticated users. So I didn't go deep into the OData, the library itself, but it provides you to what we call as query interceptors. So when I go and say my OData service / collection 2, I can intercept just before it does its normal processing of getting the data. I can intercept and then actually check my headers that, hey, I asked for an authentication. Do I have the basic or a digest or the certificate? And if it does not, I can just just come back and then just put a block there. So that's one way. So, and I think the Microsoft team has gone ahead and then showed examples like how you can use ADFS, you can use the OpenAuth, all those stuff. So I would suggest either quickly go to my post. I think 3 posts back, I had just consolidated all those 10 links in one post, and then I had posted it. Or you can directly go to ADO.NET data team, and then you just can just see the 10 blog posts.
Good question here. What do you see is the main difference between OData and REST?
Actually, OData goes ahead and kind of puts a couple of things. One is the queryability. The REST is not queryable. REST is all about just addressing a resource. For example, you can just go and say my service / let's take Twitter for itself. Twitter/status/ it will give you all the status for a user. If you want to find out all the followers for a user, you can just say Twitter/followers/ my Twitter handle. So that's going to give you all the followers for that. But there's no queryability in the REST. But OData builds on top of all this core fundamentals of HTTP, Atom, and REST, and then gives you the addressability, the queryability, the navigational aspect, all those stuff. So that's where the difference lies between what your Open Data Protocol provides and then what a REST is. REST is basically your pattern for or your architectural pattern for your server-side service the service development. That's how I see it.
Thanks for that. Definitely answered my question. Don't see if there are any other questions coming here. If anybody have any questions, fire them through now. No, doesn't seem to be any more questions come through. It seems that you have answered quite a lot of questions in depth here, Lohith. Lohith, I want to thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
It was quite an excellent introduction to OData. I think a lot of people find a lot of value in it, and I must admit personally, I'm a big fan of OData. But like anything else, if it's not used correctly, it can get into trouble. I've seen a lot of people try a lot of silly things with OData.
Yeah.
And of course, some of the issues there's been, especially early on with some of the version differences.
Yes.
People had to write custom HTTP headers and so on.
Yes.
To consume, but it seems that now it's becoming, now that, now all the big players are following suit. It seems that the standard is actually now becoming a real standard, not just a pretend standard.
Yeah, that's true.
So thank you very much. Just going to quickly do a reminder here that we have 2 more events coming in June. We have Curing and Testing Blues, and Angela Dugan is going to show us some nifty things with Visual Studio and TFS 2010 on the 16th of June. And Scott Guthrie, his 9th Q&A Unplugged session is on the 23rd of June, not May. I don't know why I did that mistake again. But thank you much for coming in, Lohith. And I'm hoping to see you back here again at some other stage.
Sure, I can take the level 200 maybe for the OData itself.
Excellent. Thanks to all the members for arriving and coming in, and we will see you guys on the flip side again. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You're most welcome, Lohith.